All right, cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Industry Insights Entertainment panel. I'm Amy Lopez, and I am a student intern with the USC Career Center. Before we begin, I want to let everyone know that this event is being recorded. This event is designed to give students the opportunity to explore different career options and gain some industry insights from our amazing panelists. We want this panel to be as interactive as possible, so we will open the panel for audience questions through the midway point. When we do, please indicate that you have a question by using the raise hand function. And if you do have a question, please be prepared to unmute your microphone when prompted so that you can ask your questions. With all that being said, I would like to now open up for our panelists to introduce themselves. Sarah, if you could start us off, could you briefly share your name, pronouns, company, and current role?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sarah Park, pronouns she, her. I currently work at DreamWorks Animation, and I am a recruiter, particular for the early career programs and diversity outreach team. I work very closely with current students and recent graduates who are looking to get their foot into the door in the animation space. So I oversee a lot of the internship programs, trainee programs, and other kind of early career programs at their studio, as well as diversity outreach, working with diverse partner organizations throughout the LA area. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. I've been at DreamWorks for about a year and a half or so now. And prior to coming to DreamWorks, I worked actually in education. I was a college counselor, both in admissions and just kind of transfer community college as well, for 7 years prior to working at DreamWorks. But happy to be here, and thank you so much again for having me.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Joanna, if you don't mind introducing yourself as well.
Gosh, I was hoping I wasn't going to follow that. That was great. Nice to meet you, everybody, and Sarah. I'm Joanna Zuwader. Pronouns are she, her. I am the co-founder and producer for Flip Narrative. We're a small development and production company. We were crazy enough to think the world was going to continue after COVID, so we began during COVID. I am married to an actor, and if anybody's in the acting field, I think we know now that you can not only be an actor, you have to be everything behind the camera also to maintain a career. And he's maintained a 30-year career in the acting field. But in 2014, we produced a film that took us all the way to the Oscars. We won at TIFF, Cannes. We did a lot of great success, and we thought, why not build a company that, we can control the narrative. We're from the Middle East, and so it's always been projected from the West what we are like. We're obviously not what we're portrayed as. And so we felt that Flip Narrative was us flipping the narrative on misrepresented and underrepresented voices around the world. But we're beginning with the Manasa area, which is Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia. That's Flip.
Great.
And thank you for inviting me on. Thank you for letting me be here. This is great. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for that. Felicity, if you don't mind going next.
Hi, yeah, so I'm Felicity. I am the creative assistant at Graphic India. My pronouns are she, her. Sorry, I'm going out of order. So a little bit about me. I actually graduated from USC, the master's program last year in the Peter Stark producing program. And so if you guys have any questions about that program in particular, I'm happy to answer. And before getting my master's, I was actually working in the digital communications and marketing space before switching into the film industry. A little bit about Graphic India. We are an IP and production company. So in addition to developing film and TV, we also actually produce a lot of our own IP, specifically in the comic space. And yeah, so if you have any questions about that, let me know.
Thank you so much. And Chanel, if you don't mind going.
Yes, of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Chanel Guillaume, and my pronouns are she, her. I work as the talent acquisition and talent development specialist for Bandai Namco Entertainment America. So what that means is I am solely in charge of all of talent acquisition and hiring for the entire company all on my own. And as talent development specialist, not only do I have the privilege and honor of hiring for the whole company, whether it's entry level to senior director or C-suite level executives, but I also get to work with each individual here at the company throughout their time here and help them learn and grow within their profession, within their role, within their team, and hopefully can nurture the top talent that we bring into the company and make sure that they're happy and that they stay, and that they can, or if they choose to leave, that they can go on to, you know, amazing opportunities, you know, after here. And so what Bandai Namco Entertainment America does is that here in Irvine and Orange County in SoCal, we are the North American headquarters for all video game publishing for any of our Bandai Namco titles, like Tekken and Galaga and Dig Dug and Pac-Man and Armor Core, which we just launched like a couple weeks ago, and Elden Ring as well. And then just like Sarah, I actually came from higher ed too. I used to be a study abroad advisor and an academic advisor, and my master's is in higher ed. I worked in higher ed for 12 years, and I thought to, you know, make the leap to be what it's like on this side, on the private sector. Nice to meet everybody. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for all of you for introducing yourselves. Shala, if you don't mind starting off with this, could you just tell us a little bit about your experience in the entertainment industry, sort of why you chose entertainment? I know like you kind of mentioned this a little bit, and just like how you ended up there, what was your path like?
Yeah, definitely. That's a really great question. So ever since I was a kid, I loved video games and anime. It all started at 6 years old when my dad bought me a Nintendo 64, and he's like, well, all the other kids have one and I wanted you to have one too. And it's so funny because as a kid, like going into high school, especially, I was like, I can't go into the video game industry, even though I really want to. I'm not tech savvy enough to make a game. I'm not creative enough to write a game story or create characters or levels or a dungeon or anything like that. I can't make a game. But as I was, you know, navigating my professional career in my 20s, I learned that every company has an HR. No matter what kind of company and what industry, everyone has a legal team, everyone has accounting, finance, and at the end of the day, everyone has an HR. And so because the theme of all of my jobs was connecting people to opportunities, whether educational, experiential, professional, academic, I was like, what if I go into recruiting? And so I was really lucky that after leaving higher ed, I started off at the bottom as a recruiting coordinator for Coinbase, like America's #1 cryptocurrency. But I was able to, you know, leverage all of my higher ed skills when I was applying for here at Bandai, that they took a chance on me and let me be in charge of, you know, their talent acquisition process. And so they saw that I could, you know, do more than just recruiting. I was excelling in recruiting, and they're like, what if you like do all the things that you did for the students, but for working professionals? And so that was, you know, it was really exciting because we're a smaller company of around 170 people, that the CEO recognized my talents and was like, what if you did more than just recruiting? And so when I got the call to even do this job almost 2 years ago, I thought, I told my parents, you know, on a phone call, like, dreams do come true. If I would have known that I actually was able to get into the video game industry and, you know, help make other people's dreams come true, you know, I would not have believed you.
Thank you, that's so cute. Joanna, if you don't mind kind of telling us how you got to where you are, your experience in the entertainment industry.
Oh my gosh, I wish it's as positive as Chanel's is. No, again, I'm married to an actor. I don't know if you've seen Omar, which is our movie that I was talking about earlier. My husband is a Palestinian American, and ever since 9/11, even though he's thespian and was trained at the Folger Theater in Washington, D.C., he was only getting roles that were that of, you know, someone blowing something up or something that was horrible. So he stood his ground. He actually has a lot of roles where he's a bad guy, but he doesn't like to label who they are. I mean, in the latest role he's played as a Georgian gang member, so he's very versatile in what he was doing. But what we realized is when our children were growing was the impression they were having about back home was really negative, and it was normally what, you know, the West portrayed us as. You know, you never see a woman looking like me saying she's Arab. So we figured let's take that into our own hands. We have a lot of talented friends that are overlooked in this industry. Again, if you're walking in this industry, if you're working in the corporate world, then you're guaranteed a paycheck and you go forward, and therefore, you know, you work for this corporation. But when you're on the artist side, you first need to develop very thick skin. You need to be really ready for these strikes, which what we are facing right now. And you need to be versatile. And so Flip Narrative came about when a whole group of friends of ours sat down in my backyard and we're like, listen, we're not being heard. We're not being, portrayed the right way. Let's form this and bring the voices to life. And so what started with just 20 scripts from friends that ended up being international. I do have scripts from Ireland. You have stories, so many misrepresented and underrepresented voices. And we figured now with the boom coming out of the Middle East, that we jump on that. We consider ourselves insiders, outsiders to them. Insiders because we're Arabs, but outsiders because we're from the West. We know they want American or Western content, but for them, in their language, normally when things are spoken in Arabic, nobody, the West understands that we have different dialects. Therefore, it's like saying a Canadian sounds like someone from South America. We have very, very different dialects. And so we figured let's bring these stories to life, and we're the nexus between the West and the Middle East and Northern Africa and Southern Asia for now. There are many companies like us, trust us, that are bidding for the same thing, especially with Saudi Arabia opening all their doors right now with the grants. So yeah, we came about as artists that needed to survive in this industry, and the only way to really survive, unless you want another job somewhere else, is to be either a writer or a producer or learn to be a crew. You need to be versatile in this industry. You can't come in saying, oh, I just want to be an actor, because then you're really, you're not going to survive. So that's where Flip Narrative came about. But it's filled with passion and a lot of people that, by the way, we've had 2 beautiful interns of yours from USC who have joined us in the past. One of them who is a producer now with Flip Narrative. And the other one who's going to graduate next year. But I just want to say that it came about with complete belief in our mission and vision. And honestly, this is how you move forward, is when someone believes in your mission and vision, and you're moving forward with content you believe in. And that's half of the job that we do as producers, is we believe in something. The other half is to convince others to believe in what we're believing in.
Thank you so much for that. That's quite inspiring. Sarah, if you don't mind sharing with us how you got to DreamWorks and what your experience has been like so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned before, I got my master's in higher ed and school counseling, and I worked primarily with undergraduate admissions at Loyola Marymount University, and then I moved over to community college counseling, both on the career and transfer side. And I loved what I did, right? I loved guiding students from the beginning of the application season all the way to admission, and also helping students discover their interests, their skills, and helping them get placed into internships, jobs, and even four-year colleges. And so I absolutely loved it. But similar to Chanel, I was like, maybe I can do this on the company side, right? I've been only in education. I know my skills are transferable. I have no experience in entertainment, but I think I can do this, and I think I can learn the industry. And so that's exactly what I did. And to my surprise, I didn't look that long, maybe like 3 months or so. And it was almost like, whoa, I'm getting interviews. So I'm just glad I took a leap of faith. And so it's been a seamless transition. I will say the learning curve was learning animation, right? Kind of learning the feature and TV pipeline and how DreamWorks operates. But in terms of like the skills and the transferable skills that I use, they're the same. It's really, guiding people, helping them walk through the process from, outreach to students, to application, to the interview process, to helping them get onboarded and all the way through the internship program. I hire them, and then I'm not like, okay, bye, have a good internship, see you later. It's I do the programming aspect as well. And so we really walk through with all the candidates. And then I also do the full-time hiring of all entry-level positions at the studio. So my main goal is to, hire you in as an intern and to make you maybe hopefully hire you full-time as well if there's a position available at the studio. And so my experience has been wonderful. It is a different paced environment, I will say, right? And education, it was a little bit slower, it was a little bit calmer, and then boom, it's like fast paced, go, go, go. You have no breaks and you get 1,000 emails per day, but I love it personally. I feel like I thrive on that energy. And honestly, it's just been rewarding to see people, in rooms like this and talking and outreaching and then having them go through our programs to landing their, dream job at their dream studio has just been honestly so worth it. I work very closely with different productions, both TV, feature. So a lot of interns that I hire for are in production, in development, even technology roles like computer science, engineering, production software, or even things like marketing, business, accounting. So it's really hiring interns and entry level kind of students and recent grads all across the studio. So it's been a learning curve, but it's been really fun. And ultimately it's been really, really rewarding. And I will say similarly, we have tons of USC candidates applying. And we always have USC students at our studio in Glendale, California. So that's kind of been my, short version of my journey to DreamWorks.
Thank you. That's so interesting. And then Felicity, if you don't mind sharing your experience and how you got to Graphic India as well.
Yeah, going last. Also, Sarah, you probably know one of somebody from my cohort because she actually joined DreamWorks last year. Her name's Mick. Anyway, yes. Okay, cool. That was relevant for everybody. I'm sorry, what?
I hired Mick
Yes.
as an intern, and then I hired her as a full-time as
Awesome.
well.
Yeah, she's great. She's awesome.
Yeah,
So
great.
USC, it's all there. So I majored in English literature and computer science. I have a classic tiger mom. I'm half Chinese and who was very much like, you have to study STEM. Like, why are you interested in writing and literature? That's your dad's fault. And I knew very quickly that I wasn't going to use my computer science degree and I really wanted to write, although I did meet my husband through the computer science degree. So I have that to thank for it. But even while I was writing, I didn't really think about the possibility of doing film. And in retrospect, I chalk that up to the fact that like all of the film people I knew while I was at NYU were all like very bro-y white men. I don't know if that's still the case today. I don't know what college looks like in terms of like, if the film departments are like predominantly men. But I did look up to a lot of female authors and I knew that I wanted to write. And so I went on to study creative writing. And I kind of had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do screenwriting as well. So I did some of that as well, but I didn't get a formal degree in it. I got like a certificate and my screenplay ended up being selected. This was all congruent with me, like doing, publishing, marketing, all that, realizing I hated publishing, working in that sphere that you do when you're an English major, copywriting. And yeah, so my screenplay was selected as a finalist for this competition. And the way that they had it set up was they picked your screenplay and then a director just like ran with it and had actors reading it. And the director ended up having like a very specific interpretation, which felt very male to me, in that there were these two sisters and he interpreted them to be very catty towards each other, which was not my intention at all. Like I really wanted them to have a very loving relationship. And that's when it kind of clicked. I was like, you know what? I think I want to have more autonomy over my writing. I don't want to just hand it off to somebody. I realize now that that's probably not usually the case. Usually the writer would have a little bit of a conversation and have some like dialogue with the director or the producer or whatever. But I think that particular experience kind of set me off to like be interested in realizing that I could have more control over a project, and going through the producer route and ultimately going to the USC film producing program. And during my time at USC, I went during COVID, so it was all online. So I had a very specific experience that most people do not have. So that was interesting. But I had several internships during that time, which really set me up. And then I graduated, got a freelance script reading position, which is really great if you guys are like graduating and looking for like just like a job to do like as soon as you graduate that's in the industry. A lot of people are looking for script readers, and if you have like that coverage experience, it's really good to do. And then I went on to become an assistant at an agency, and then but I knew that that was really just for me to like learn more about the industry rather than like a long-term career goal. And then I ended up at Graphic India, which has been really the right fit in terms of being able to leverage that creative side and you know, getting to have more hands-on experience in terms of development and you know, creating the TV and film. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. We will open it up to the students after this one question, but Chanel, if you don't mind going first, I kind of just want to ask, like, what do you feel are the challenges and benefits of working into the entertainment industry?
Yeah, definitely. So this is my first job within entertainment industry. Since before was like cryptocurrency, which is fintech, and then higher ed is very niche and specific. And so within video games, I would say the community is kind of small in video games. So I think like having a good like reputation is always helpful. But I think the hard part is actually getting in. I would say that like getting your foot in the door into a video game company in general, I think might be a little bit challenging. So I think what would be really helpful for new grads and students is, you know, internship projects or volunteering or working as like a contractor. Or because I would say maybe early career programs aren't as common maybe yet in video games as it is in other industries. I think, I mean, other like facets of entertainment, right? I think video games is something that is up and coming that we would do, but I would definitely say, yeah, internships tend to be really big, or working as a contractor or volunteering at one, if there's any like opportunities to do that. And then I would say too, it kind of depends on like what people want to do. So like if someone wants to make games, that's definitely not here, because we're the marketing sales. Like how do we push our, you know, video games to market? How do we, you know, do awesome trailers like with Rainn Wilson and Carl Urban, right, for Armored Core? Like how do we, you know, get this product to sell? So then people would have to understand the difference between like video game publishing versus video game development. But there's definitely also entities. So I think that that's a challenge that I've experienced so far as a recruiter, is like letting people know on the recruiter phone screen with me, like, oh, we don't make games here, but we do publish them, you know, so understanding the difference between video game development and publishing. And then like maybe even to like lack of entry-level jobs. Sometimes I would say a lot of jobs require at least like 2 years professional experience. But we always look for like those transferable skills. So let's say you're coming from like beauty industry or, you know, TV, film. Those are awesome, you know, transferable entertainment skills that would be great in video games. So sometimes if someone wants to get into video games, they might have to take some different paths just to get that foot in the door, just to get that experience and then transfer in. Because I would say if you don't have relevant like direct job experience, industry experience is key. So even if you've never done this type of job before, but you've been in entertainment in some kind of capacity, I think that's only a bonus, and that really helps you as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Joanna, if you don't mind answering as well, I know for you a common theme has been like misrepresentation. So if you could, you know, talk a little bit more about the challenges and benefits that you've faced, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, the challenges is actually what's interesting about our industry is that there's just that 1% that we always complain about corporate. You do have that 1% in Hollywood too. So you'll see actors are always asked to do the same thing. They're really not open to new faces. This to say honestly that it almost feels like the challenges we have. Let me just say this: the fact that we did Omar and we got to the Oscars no phone has been unanswered for us. Prior to that, it was very difficult, where my husband, his name is Walid Zuwaiter. So after 9/11, he literally had his representation drop him because he wouldn't change his name. They wanted him to call himself, what was it, Willie Zane. I was like, well, there's a Billy Zane. What are you talking about? And he refused. And every time he says, hi, I'm Palestinian American, they're like, oh, you're Arab American. He's like, absolutely, representing the Arabs, but I am, So there is this whole, I don't want to say racism, because racism is something, it's discrimination against the Arab world that is very hush-hush, but I think right after Trump, it's very open to be open about it. But it's refreshing because then it's not a polite diss, it's more like honesty, and I appreciate that more than dishonesty. So it's been that in building, like, for example, when we did Omar, a lot of people don't realize this. I mean, literally, we had our car repossessed, we were bankruptcy, but our film was at the Oscars. And as I mentioned, all these different, we even won the Dubai Film Festival. And which, by the way, if anyone experienced that, you go to the Oscars after that, you're like, what's going on here? You felt the Oscars were so small because everything is so huge there. Needless to say, we had death threats. And the reasoning behind it is because we represented Palestine. The director writer was Hani Abu Assad for Omar. And by the way, Omar is on Netflix. It was recently one of their top 10 Arabic speaking films. But anyway, going back to that, we had death threats. We had people saying that, there's no such thing as Palestine. Thankfully, we had the UN had recognized a seat for Palestinians in the UN. And so what Walid did is took that charter, went to the Oscars office and said, okay, this is not occupied territories. We do have people, we do have on the West Bank, we're considered Palestinians. And here we have a seat. So they're like, well, you have to show it in the country of origin for a whole week in order for us to accept this film. So what we did is we rented a truck, a half truck with a projector, went to all the villages and had, the movies shown. We were able to come forward, and the Oscars honored their word. They allowed us to walk the red carpet saying Palestine. But it's also, it's very much like people, get very uncomfortable if you say that. I mean, we had cups thrown at us, but nothing could take away it. By the way, I'm not saying this to be dramatic. It actually, when you're from the Middle East and a survivor of 2 wars, really, honestly, nothing phases you. And it was such a blessing to be recognized. It was such a wonderful moment for us to be like, okay, you know what? It's not the world against you. People want to learn. And through film, you need to be able to tell a story, not talk down to people, but actually tell a story. And so the biggest challenge that we've seen here in this industry is not telling our story. And it hasn't been a challenge finding our own stories, but it has been a challenge to try to sell our story. So even though Omar went to the Oscars, we literally made 15 cents to the dollar. So I know, Chanel, you're marketing, so that's not a good number. We literally made no money off of it. And it's because we had a lot of people stopping us, who we don't know. It's just challenging whenever it's an Arab story, no matter what it is. Now it's more acceptable. But the challenge is also in the Middle East. They claim they want their, we claim, I don't want to say, but the Middle East wants stories from their own people, but they want it to be told by these big Hollywood storytellers. So, they'll pay Scorsese to come in, a big story written by an Arab, and it's not what's supposed to happen. So as much as, I know Saudi Arabia is looked upon really badly because of the news and stuff like that. However, all of Hollywood is receiving money from Saudi Arabia. They are going to the Red Sea Festival now. The whole Khashoggi story has been down. But to say a positive about what's happening in Saudi Arabia is film and cinema has stopped being a censored item, where before censorship was huge. Now they're competing with the Emirates to stop censorship. So the obstacles are censorship from the Middle East, and the obstacles in the West is to get them to actually fall in love with our stories, our way of saying it. So we're in the middle trying to juggle, even though we got some great stuff in the pipeline, which really whoever is a gentleman who wrote me, I just want to say there's a lot of great stuff that we're about to do. And we have really great partners from the West that are going to help us get these stories out. So.
Thank you for that. And we do want to open up for the students in quite a bit, but Sarah and Felicity, if you had any like quick bits about your the way you see the benefits and challenges, if not, that's totally okay. Just wanted to see if any of you had anything to say.
Yeah, I'll go really, really quickly. Obviously some of the challenges are, with the strikes and things like that going on. Like, although animation itself is not so directly impacted, it does impact us. And animation specifically is a smaller kind of world than, live action. But all that to say, I think that's also a benefit, right? In terms of being in animation, it's such a small community. Everyone knows everybody. So it almost feels like family. It's like we hire people from Nickelodeon and Disney and people all the time, Netflix. And so it's almost like a family community. And I would also say specifically for like DreamWorks, our parent company is NBC Universal. And so there are both challenges and benefits to that as well. But I would say so far I've seen mostly benefits because we have a lot of opportunities and a lot of great connections kind of on the larger scale. But obviously it's a corporation, there's a lot of people to get through. So I would say it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. But all to say that we have a great relationship with our parent company. And so I'm always sending interns over to NBCU. Hey, please consider our interns. They were at DreamWorks, they studied, film, but they're open to doing the marketing side at NBC, et cetera. So I feel like that relationship piece has been really great. And I think when people think film, entertainment, media, they only sometimes think like I have to be an actor, producer, writer, but we're like any other business. We need accountants, we need computer science majors. And so I feel like, thinking broadly could really help you get your foot into the door. And I would say don't go for the crazy big companies, like start off small, like that's totally okay. And build yourself and just, really put yourself out there. But I would say there are definitely benefits, and challenges to working at such a big company. But yeah, I would say that's, yeah.
Thank you for your insight. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Felicity. It's okay.
This is like a little bit in response to both what Sarah and Joanna has been talking about, because Graphic India is also an international company. We have the main headquarters is in India, and the division that's in Beverly Hills is actually, it's almost like a startup vibe, but it like has that foundation of being in India. So you have the resources that most startups don't have. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds, honestly. But what's really nice about working for an international company is that you are working with a lot of creatives who are not impacted by the strike. So you can still kind of see that global view. Of course, it's like such a hard time overall. But I will say, like, India is still producing. And then in addition to that, for me particularly, being somebody who's half Chinese and half Caucasian, I have always been really interested in the basically stories and content that has to do with like East versus West, and both like the compromises and the clashes between those two realms. And that's very much in the vein of Graphic India in terms of like the content that they're interested in producing, both specifically Eastern and more global content. And I will say, like, if you have a specific background that you are interested in telling stories about, so for example, like my Stark special project at USC was about the Chinese practice of postpartum confinement, and it was about an Asian American woman going through that practice and struggling with it because of all the pressures that American mothers have to go through. I think that it's really beneficial to think about and look at companies that align with, you know, your perspective and your background. And similar to what Sarah was saying, maybe look outside of like the typical, you know, like Netflix, NBC, Universal, you know, all those places that I'm sure plenty of people have applied to internships and such, and kind of broaden your horizon in that way.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So we do want to give our attendees an opportunity to ask questions. So as I explained earlier, please use the raise hand function on Zoom or type your question in the chat. And if you are asking a question, please be prepared to unmute your microphone when prompted so you can ask your questions. And we do already have one question that I will start off with. Someone said, what kinds of positions would be available to a master candidate with a background/experiences in life sciences/health administration? How can students whose main study is not animation, film, games stand out? So if any of y'all have an answer to that, that'd be great.
Can you repeat what that major was?
Yes, so they said background/experience with life sciences and health administration. And for those raising your hand, we'll get to you soon.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, you know, when I'm reviewing resumes, whether it's for internships or full-time positions, I'm not going through being like looking for animation only. Like, I've hired people who studied business and they want to do animation, like they want to be an artist. Like, look at me, I have nothing in animation and I'm working in animation. So I feel like it really depends on the role. For example, if I'm hiring an artist and you want to be a character designer, I'm going to have to see a portfolio, you know, to match it up, regardless of what your major is. So I would say focus less on the major itself and really about your skills and the other kind of experience and work that back it up. In terms of like production assistants, production intern, production coordinators, I'm not so much concerned with the major itself, but if you have done like student film projects, if you have some experience in animation, even if it's not animation, you've had some production experience and you worked on a school project, like all of that, it's so relevant. It's just about how you highlight that in your resume, your cover letter, and how you present yourself in your application. Is it helpful to have a more related major? Possibly. Is it required? Absolutely not. So I feel like, you know, basically all to say, don't be discouraged, apply, put yourself out there. And, you know, these are the connections to make, you know, while you have us here. You know, you're welcome to add me on LinkedIn. And, you know, kind of review our websites, you know, learn more about the industry of whatever you're interested in. But I would say don't let your major and your past experiences hold you back. Because that's not all that we're looking for, right? But again, if you want to be a storyboard artist, of course, you would need that portfolio to back it up, regardless of your major. But all to say, we have other, you know, roles other than artistic. You do not need to be an artist to work at DreamWorks or NBC Universal. I could barely draw a circle, right? And so really it's just about finding what works for you and kind of your experience, and kind of, you know, tailoring your resume to that as well. So don't let whatever you're studying or what your experiences hold you back from applying to whatever interests you. Yeah.
I will also add that so much of the entertainment industry is apprenticeship, and what that means, that's a fancy way of saying like you have to start from the very bottom no matter what your background is, in terms of like if you're working for like a production company or you know, an agency or whatever, oftentimes you're going to be working as like an assistant or like a second assistant. And what that means is like administration is like number one. So if you have admin experience, regardless of what type of admin experience, that is going to be super, super useful. And you're probably, regardless of what you majored in, you're going to have to get one of those entry-level positions anyway. So I think you could definitely use that to your advantage.
Great, thank you so much, Sarah Felicity. Blake, if you don't mind, go ahead and ask your question, please.
Yeah, so first I just wanted to start off by thanking all the panelists for joining today. And then, so my question is going to be directed to Ms. Zubader. So I'm a business student at Cornell University, actually, and I'll be transferring to USC this spring to further my interest in entertainment business. And so as a Black person, I was really inspired by your message about how you kind of need perseverance and tenacity and also versatility to kind of survive and thrive in the industry. And so I'm hoping to become a producer one day and to work on stories that feature minority stories, kind of how you were talking about. And I was wondering if you had any advice for a person of color kind of looking to secure those entry-level jobs in the industry and also work their way up to you know, some of the higher roles and eventually becoming a producer or owning a production company.
Absolutely. So for corporate answers, I'd have to leave it for the other ladies, but I just want to say one thing that's happening in Hollywood, and I feel like I'm the one that's not corporate. So I'm telling you everything from experience, and it's not from learned books, it's actually experience. Hollywood now is overcorrecting itself, you know, after the Me Too and all the different things that have happened. It's overcorrecting itself, and in a way, you know, I know that some people have issue when I say that, but it's a good thing. And it's a good thing for people like us. And when I say us, I mean people who are from outside or feel that we are, you know, the funny thing I was told the other day, I was told that I was, what was it, the word that they used, privileged, because I'm actually the way I look. Needless to say, just to give you a background about me, my father's from Fiji and my mom is from Lebanon. And I was born in Beirut. I had the war in Lebanon, which I grew up in, and I was stuck in Kuwait during the Kuwait War. So I'm literally furthest, but I went to American schools, and that's why I have slight American accent, I guess. But I will say yeah, you know, and my son who actually does look like my husband, actually my Fijian side more than my husband, who's Palestinian, he is discriminated against. It's not anything that you can do about it, but this job itself, and if you're thinking as a producer, is that you just have to have thick skin. You can't let anyone's discrimination or short-mindedness stop you, because you know, my husband constantly is told, do not say you're Palestinian, do not say you're Palestinian. He's going to lose opportunities. If you look up Walid, honestly, the reason I'm mentioning Walid is he's our CEO. He's the reason why we have Flip Narrative. His name is Walid Zuwaiter, and he has a lot of credits, but that's 30 years of him fighting that, listen, we do need that representation. So love, what I can tell you is this: Flip Narrative gives internships and we give credit for it. We don't have the money yet for paying like the other big companies, but find companies like mine, you know, that need interns. And then that way you can see where it is that you need to be stronger. What you learn in the classroom is not what you're going to learn in the field. So yeah, I wish, like I told my son, who's actually following his father's footsteps, but he's also a producer and he's also a writer, is just get thick skin and go and apply. And if there's something that, you know, is in your way, keep trying. You know, with the way Walid kept getting under people's skin is that he would always follow up with a written postcard, or you know, it was cookies after an audition, and that's how they would remember who he was. But nowadays, I'm not sure if that's appropriate, but handwritten cards are great. But truly, dear, it's going for the small companies that share your mission and vision and your values, and then going from there and just building, you know, it for every company, no matter what color you are, no matter what ethnicity or where you're from, you know, starting from the ground up, you will build yourself, you know, as long as you go. It's just what part of the industry do you want? And if you want to go through the Netflix wave, understand that that's a corporate world. And I think USC does focus more on the business and the education side, which is a really great way of advancing and loving. So, you know, when someone tells you they love their job, truly it's a blessing. First of all, it's a blessing if it pays you. But when I tell you I love my job and I'm not getting paid for 3 years, it has to be something you love, and it has to be something you're willing to drive an Uber to sustain yourself. It has to be that if you believe in a project, no matter how much the rejection, you still go forward. Omar, literally, we were told there's no way. I mean, death threats, that was the best one. I thought, what, really? Which were funny, but But again, you just don't let anyone stop you, love. If you believe in something, you go for it, and the sky's the limit. And I only say it from experience and not, oh my God, I'm a dreamer. No, I've seen Walid do it. So that's why I tell my children this, that if you really stick to it, it does happen. But I do have to mention, in this industry that I'm in, luck has a lot to do with it too. So it's just, you have to do the hard work. Sometimes you don't get to the level of other people. I mean, we are not at the level where we can say, literally, and you have to be prepared. We have to leave Los Angeles because the strikes hurt us tremendously. But we do have friends who are taking their kids out of school. They're, you have to be prepared for that world you're about to enter. And if you really are not that passionate about it, then I would highly recommend the corporate part of it, because at least you're getting paid for it. Because you can't justify, doing what I do unless you really are crazy or really in love with it. But that's honest, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Students, or sorry if we don't get to all your questions. Wong, if you don't mind unmuting and asking your question, please.
Hello, my web camera is currently broken, but I've been taking furious amount of notes. My question is, what are your recommendations for a senior student who isn't really sure about going to graduate school and wants to go into the industry to gain some more experience before making the decision?
Oh, that's a good question. I can chime in for this quickly. So a couple of things that you would want to think about is like, if I don't go to grad school immediately after undergrad and I have this full-time job that's paying me salary and benefits, like, do I want to do work full-time and be a part-time student? Do I want to quit my full-time job and be a full-time student, or somehow juggle everything? So just kind of imagine, because sometimes when you're having like a full-time job, like, do you want to like do that and balance school, or give that up to do school, versus just getting it out of the way now, or maybe doing it later in life, depending on what your life looks like and what your situation is like. And then like something to think about too, if you're just trying to figure out like what your next steps are academically or professionally, I think what might be like a really nice like activity to engage in is like, when you close your eyes, like, where do you imagine yourself like in the next 2-3 years? Like, do you imagine yourself like working at a small company, at a really large company? Would you, or what kind of life do you imagine living in? Like, do you, like, if it is like something corporate or office-y related, like to like what a lot of the jobs that I do, like, do you imagine yourself doing like a lot of like projects, like everything is project driven, deadline driven, or is it a combination of like daily tasks every day as well, working towards, your projects that you're working on? Like, what kind of stuff what sparks joy for you? What do you like? What don't you like? And sometimes, experience is the best teacher. Like, you really won't learn sometimes what you do enjoy or not enjoy in the professional space until you do it. Right. So it's actually really valuable to try out stuff, to, see what it's like to work in whatever kinds of environments. Because like what I would say here at Bandai Namco is that we're a little bit of a smaller company. We're like 170 people, but because we're a smaller company, you get to do more. You definitely get more responsibility. You have access to the C-suite level executives and the CEO. The CEO sits 2 rows behind me in his office and his door is always open, and like Bandai Namco is a very old legacy, video game company, so to have access to all these mentors and people who love what they do and are so passionate about what they do and want everyone to succeed and everyone, so relationship oriented, you could really learn and grow so much, at a smaller company like Sarah was mentioning earlier, versus maybe working at like the BBC, where you might be siloed and you only do your job and you never work with any other team, any other department, because they're so big, right? But it's the BBC, so it sounds really cool and and awesome and attractive. But then you want to think about, what does that look like? Do I just come do my like 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, and then that's all I do, and I don't get to do anything else? So I would the last thing I would mention too is like do informational interviews, like go on LinkedIn, like look at what people's job titles are. I'm like, oh my God, your job title sounds cool. Your job seems cool. I would love to have like a virtual coffee chat with you to learn more about what you do. I did that in my late 20s. I was like, I'm ready to leave higher ed. I want a job that pays me well and pays my bills. How, let me find mentors. Let me reach out to people. Let me cold message on LinkedIn being like, hey, I'm looking to do a career change, industry change. So I always recommend like informational interviews.
Yeah, I just want to add, because I also got my master's degree, that I definitely recommend going into the workforce before getting a master's degree. I think that when you're in school, you're learning a lot about the subject that you're studying, but I think when you're working, you learn a lot about yourself and what kind of person you want to be and what kind of career you want to have for the rest of your life. And I think having some of that perspective before going into your master's degree is super useful, and it helps enrich that experience a lot. I think the alternative is like you're not ready to leave school yet and you just want to keep going, then I also respect that as well.
Thank you guys for your input. I'm afraid this might be the last question, but Aristani, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Hi, yes, can everybody hear me? Okay, perfect. So my question is more targeted to Sarah, but anyone feel free to jump in. Sarah, since you're very involved in like when it comes to recruitment at DreamWorks and helping with like people who are just graduating and going into the workforce, what would you recommend the type of position for someone who wants a full-time entry job in event management? So that's such as like planning like premiere events and that kind of thing. What type of jobs would you suggest to be looking for and applying to?
Great question. Specifically at DreamWorks, we have a team called Teamworks. We use that like pun a lot. Teamworks, that works. Dream team, but we have a specific team called Teamworks, and they actually plan all of our employee engagement, social events, our launch parties, wrap parties, things like that. And it's a very niche role within our studio. I will say if you are a student or a recent grad, and this is for everyone, spring 2024 internship applications open on October 2nd. So in just a few weeks, they're opening. They open just for 2 weeks, and we always have a Teamworks intern. When posted online, it'll be posted as employee engagement and communications intern. But I would say for someone who's interested in like events, that is a very niche role within entertainment. And so at DreamWorks, that's what it's called. And we always have an intern. Typically, we like to hire full-time for that role. But on the NBCU side, it's probably called something different because they have different divisions over there. So I would say look for jobs with, events, planning in the job description. And even if it's not exactly what you're looking for, put yourself out there and apply everywhere. And you will get great experience. I know on the DreamWorks side, they're very hands-on. They do the big parties, but also like the little ones where it's just like happy hours, social hours for internal people. So I'm sure they have bigger and more positions available on the NBCU side as well. So I would say keep looking, and kind of talking back on internships. Know that most companies hire for interns a season ahead, right? So if you're looking for internships into spring, we're probably hiring now. If you're looking for summer internships and you want summer, applications will probably open in January, February. So I think just like planning ahead and knowing to always look on our career sites, follow all of our Instagram pages. Like we always do updates there, announcements there. And so just staying up to date, because a lot of times people will email me being like, I missed a deadline. And at that point, my hands are tied, right? Really, so I think just knowing that we always open a season ahead. And so you don't miss that opportunity. I will also say, you can imagine how many applications we get for such limited roles. I had one intern from Chapman University say, oh my goodness, Sarah, this is my 7th time applying for this internship program and I finally got it. And from my side, I'm like, you applied 7 times? Well, thank you so much for your patience and your perseverance. She was a production assistant on the feature side twice. And then actually I just hired her as a full-time production assistant. So all to say, don't give up. It is a very competitive market. Keep applying, even if you get rejected, just keep going. And you never know what's going to happen. So.
Oh,
Okay,
and
thank you so much.
Oh, so sorry. So I was going to say, like, also a really great way to get into events is like PR or brand management or brand marketing, or even events teams. Like those are all teams here at Bandai Namco, and we throw huge events. Like we're either part of industry trade shows like Anime Expo, Comic-Con in San Diego or in New York, or any like even international like Tokyo Game Show. But then we also hold like closed events for press and influencers. Like we had Grimes come out to Anaheim, California, and we had her go into Exosapien, which is a mech suit, to promote our Armor Core, and was part of her music video that's going to be coming out. So, and we also get to work with like influencers and celebrities and actors to be in trailers for our video games. So there's different ways to go into events too. Like anything actually has events, like even higher ed has events, you know, as well. So like with conferences, you know, on campus and things like that too. So there's definitely lots of different ways, I think, to get events and that kind of events and experience and what that would look like in entertainment industry.
That's a great point. Even in recruiting, I'm always at events. I'm always planning events for our interns. And so you're right, it's everywhere. And so really just, you know, broaden your kind of search and you'll find events somewhere. Mhm.
Great, thank you so much. I want to thank our amazing panelists for sharing their industry insights with us, and I want to thank our students for attending. I hope that this gave everyone a better understanding of the entertainment industry, and Industry Insights is a series of panels so we will also be having one last session for community engagement. If y'all are interested, you could find more details about our other panels and other Career Center events at Connect.C or careers.usc.edu. We will be closing it off here, but I want to say thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you so much.